For many years, I was waking up every morning, dreading going to work, hugging the cubicle. I mean, literally hugging the cubicle for 60 hours a week. And I just couldn't trade it for the world. Now, and I could wake up with a purpose. I wake up at 4:30 every single morning, write in my journal, do my morning routine, and then hit the ground running in regards to just building up properties, building up the community, and really living life on my terms. And it's just something that you just can't put a price tag on. And I'm glad that I got started in real estate. I'm glad I got on the path of real estate because it allowed me to just basically live the life I want to live, the freedom, and just being able to even have my wife work with me day in and day out to help build this real estate empire is just remarkable. It's something that I've always dreamed about. I talked about for the last, 10 years. Ever since I was 18, really, I've been talking about real estate and being able to retire early and just being able to provide quality housing for people, around the Philadelphia area and then expanding. So it's just a beautiful thing, and I couldn't imagine what life would be like if I still had to wake up and answer to someone and just continue to just crank out Excel reports, PowerPoint projects, upper management talking to me every year saying, hey, Doug, you're just a meets this year. We were expecting a little bit more out of you. I'm like, hey, listen, I just gave you 60 hours of my life every single week, and you're not going to give me a bonus this year? Or if it does come bonus time, they'll give me a bonus of $2,000. Like, wow, $2,000. I can't even keep up with inflation with that extra $2,000. Now, and I could just give myself my own bonuses. Every property that I buy is a bonus. So that's adding an extra $600, an extra $1,200, $1,500 a month per property. So now I'm in control. I'm in the driver's seat and able to continue to acquire assets that's going to be paying me every single month. And now I'm giving myself my own bonuses, and I'm not waiting to the end of the year for a manager just to say, hey, we wanted more out of you this year. You're just a meets. So for me, I'm focused and determined because I know what the other options are. The other options is me hugging that cubicle till I'm 65 years old. I've seen it done. Even when I left University of Delaware, right? I stepped into the Bank of America as a rotational leadership program. And as I'm stepping in the door, there's grown folks, 50, 60 years old, packing up their cubicle, crying in tears because they just got laid off. And that's their only source of income to put food on their table and even to pay for their mortgage. So I knew right away that I did not want to ever be in that situation. I wanted to be in control. And for me, waking up every single morning is a situation where, short term, I'm putting in the grind, I'm putting in the work, I'm putting in the energy for the long-term gratification, for my family, my wife, my future kids, my grandchildren, what have you. I'm putting in that strong foundation so that way, a few years down the road, I can just be traveling the world, managing the business from my laptop, from the cell phone, and just have these systems in place to just continue to build and grow this empire to the point where, it's 200 plus units and $100,000 a month and even more coming in every single month just from the rents and allowing me to continue to enjoy life and just, enjoy the small moments of spending time with my family, my father who's getting older, my mother, my siblings. It's just an amazing feeling that you just can't put a price tag on. And for you, so for me, I gave up the 6-figure-a-year job. I gave up the corporate credit card. I gave up the corporate car. They gave me a Ford Flex with unlimited miles on it. I gave all that up because I knew that in order for me to reach my true potential, I had to give up these things that seemed, very enticing. Most people would have stayed and rode that thing out for the next 30 years. But for me, I needed control and I needed to bet on myself. And I knew that $100,000, I was worth way more than $100,000. I knew that I could apply all that same energy into real estate and be able to generate millions and millions and millions of dollars. So for me to make $1 million in the corporate world would have taken me, 10, 15 years per se after taxes and so forth. But I can get there much sooner with real estate. And what's nice about the real estate is that I have assets that I could then pass down to my kids and generation. They could pass that down. Whereas with that job that's just paying me $100,000, I can't pass that down to the kids. But the real estate and these bricks, I can. When it comes down to the winning mindset, you have to understand that rich people think differently than poor people. And there's a couple of books on that. And, I read books like The Millionaire Next Door, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. There's some other great books out there. The Richest Man in Babylon. Even the 50th Law was a great book. But what I developed was this winning mindset that no matter what happens, I was going to be good regardless. I was going to be able to figure out any problem that comes my way. I'm going to figure out a solution, because the people who find the most solutions get paid the most dollars. So the more solutions and problems that you can solve, the greater you're going to be, the greater your earning potential, the greater value you're going to be adding to society. So when I go through life, I know that no matter what happens, I'm going to figure out a way and I'm going to make it happen. So, I've played sports. I grew up playing basketball, nationally ranked, all that good stuff. But I knew that, even with basketball, you might lose a valuable game the night before, but you're right back out there the next day at practice, working harder than you did before, because you know that you have the opportunity to go ahead and reach and strive and gain. Just like in real estate, not everything is going to go smooth in the upward trajectory. There's going to be peaks and valleys and so forth. But as long as you're going up in the upward direction, and as long as you have confidence in yourself that no matter what happens, you're going to be able to achieve. And you always have to keep that long-term goal in front of you. So in the short term, all my pipes might have busted and the house is flooding, but long-term, you're going to fix that problem. And long-term, you're going to add, 10, 20, 30 properties down the road where you're even going to forget about that situation where you had a leak. And you might go ahead and think a little smarter, like, hey, I could just pay $2 a month and have, in-home water plumbing service coverage. So if there was a leak, for that $2, a plumber can go out there, fix every leak in the property. And you just take every obstacle, every challenge that presents itself just to make yourself stronger. It's kind of like you're in the gym, you're working out, and you're lifting weights and your muscles get sore, but you just keep going to that extra rep, and that's going to make you stronger in the long run. And that's just like the same thing that applies to real estate. A lot of times people go through life with short-term gratification, but for me, being a financial planner, a financial analyst, I believe in long-term gratification. So I'm planting seeds, right? So as I'm planting seeds, I can't just go ahead and eat the fruit right away. I have to wait for those seeds to flourish to the point where they become fruit and I have a fruit tree. So for me, it's all about long-term gratification. So I know the value, like in short term, I could go ahead and spend all my money, go traveling, buy cars, all these frivolous things. But for me, I'd rather go ahead and put that money toward assets that are going to produce, long-term growth, long-term wealth. And now I could take some of that cash flow and, buy the cars and things like that. So I'm playing this game for the long run, not the short run. So for an 18-year-old, I would suggest, one, reading as many real estate books as you can, but also, getting a mentor, of course. But also you want to make sure that you have good credit. And if you don't have credit, find ways to go about obtaining credit. Because in this game of real estate, you must have good credit to get far in this game, because the key is to using OPM, other people's money. So the faster you learn how to use other people's money, you'll go a lot further, because you can buy more assets a lot faster and quicker, opposed to just using your own money, using your own cash. That's the old way of doing it. So business credit is extremely, extremely important, because it's an avenue, or it's an assets that you can actually tap into to grow your real estate portfolio. And what's nice about having these extra business lines of credit is that you can pull on them temporarily to go ahead and do a real estate transaction, a real estate deal. And then once you cash out, refinance the property, you can put the money right back into that line of credit, and you're only getting charged when you use that line of credit. And another thing, what's nice about having that business line of credit is you can actually max out that line and it won't hurt your personal credit score. Whereas with a personal credit, if you max it out, it's going to be a detriment on your credit score. So it's important to have business lines of credit, which you can then leverage smartly. Leverage these business lines of credit to obtain buildings, to fix them up. And then you go to the bank, you refinance them, you pay back this business line of credit, and then you just keep doing the process over and over again. The reason why I'm doing this is mainly because of freedom. Real estate has given me a vehicle to provide freedom for myself and my family. So when it comes to real estate, I see freedom as waking up and living my purpose and being able to do something that I truly love. I truly love taking a house that looks abandoned, looks run down, the worst house on the block, and recreating that and restructuring that property to be a quality living space for a family and someone that they could just call home. So that's really why I do this. And it's something where, it wakes me up every morning and I'm excited just to be able to provide another property for a family as well as put together a masterpiece in the neighborhood that I serve.